We can often build our identity around past experiences, past achievements, past decisions, but that is not where growth lies. Growth lies in what we're learning and experiencing right now. So how do we honor the past without getting stuck there so that we have always something beautiful to look forward to in the future?
I'm Eric Orton.
I'm Emily Orton.
And in 2014, we bootstrapped a year on a fixer-upper sailboat with our 5 kids. We wrote a book about it called 7 at Sea, and that book became a New York Times top 10 travel book.
On this podcast, we explore adventure, connection, and stepping into a more intentional life. And we don't just talk about it, we practice it. We invite you to join us on playful, guided sailing trips around the world.
And if you stick around to the end of this episode, you'll hear our sailing update where we share where we're going, when, and which trips still have space. And you can hear our sailing takeaway where you'll hear from somebody who's actually come on a sailing trip with us already.
Let's dive in. All right. Hey, getting started, I just want to say congratulations on 150 episodes.
What is that?
It feels like a nice round number. If you want to tell me the 8-syllable word for it.
I was just going to ask, like the sesquicentennial?
I don't know. Check us in the comments if you're here on
celebrating,
YouTube.
The United States is celebrating 250 years, and what are we calling that?
I don't even know.
Sorry. Should I look up really quick what 150 is?
You can, but this is $1.50 for us, right? This is 150 episodes, more than 2 years that we've been
sesquicentennial. It is. It's for special occasions, particularly a 150th anniversary. The term sesquicentennial is used. So this is our sesquicentennial episode.
We're grateful that we're able to have these conversations. We're grateful that you listen in, and we hope that there's some entertainment and some encouragement and some learning and growing and reflecting and reframing and more intentional living that goes along with all of this. That's our hope. So recently we bought some plants, not fancy plants. We just went to a Lowe's hardware store. Was it, or Home Depot?
We went to a hardware store. And bought plants.
Yep. Plants is not what they say they sell on the outside, but they had them inside. And
it's in the gardening section.
Yeah, we actually wanted to use them for our setup at a trade show telling about our trips, and we wanted to bring this tropical feel to our booth, and we bought these plants, and then we got them home and we found out there's a lot we don't know about plants. So you just put a plant, if there's sunshine and water, then everything will be great. But they started turning brown. We realized, they can't go in front of our air conditioning vents, and those are like the perfect place to put a plant.
In the corner.
They're usually in a corner. We don't have anything else in front of them. It can blow around. No, plants don't like that.
We have an old house that has vents that were installed after the house was built, and so they're all in interesting places. Anyway, yeah, so we had to be particular about where we put them.
And then Eric was on a trip, and I kept getting all these little bugs flying out at me, like flying into my computer, on my papers, anywhere. And I looked up, like, what are these little bugs? And the internet told me that they might be coming from an overwatered plant. So I stopped watering these plants, let the soil get dry, and Eric came home. What is going on with these plants? Anyway, we
because they were mostly dead.
They were,
well,
yeah,
not mostly,
but it's fun to say mostly dead.
Up on not quite 50% dead.
And so I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not a plant whisperer. I don't know. I Googled, I watched videos, and this is still where we are. And I don't think you Googled or watched any videos. You just made up your own mind about how you were going to address the issue. And you've been very successful. So this is all for metaphor, folks. We're coming back to this. Will you tell us what's happening with the plants now?
Well, I'm going to kind of take the suspense out of the air, because I know, dear listener, you are on the edge of your seat wondering what in the world is happening with the Orton's houseplants.
Do we need to call?
What is going on? Do we have to call
Plant Protective Services?
Child Plant Service or Plant Protective Service, PPS.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. No, you do not. You do not need to call PPS. Our plants are doing just fine. Yeah, I think for one thing, I came in and dumped a gallon of water in each of them. And I was like, these plants need water. And then I just took out my knife and started cutting off the dead branches. This morning, I was like, hey, this is the thing that's most exciting about this plant. And it's in our bedroom. I feel like I should maybe go get it, since it's just...
Yeah, if you want to.
For those of you watching this on video, you're in for a treat. Hang on one second.
Steps away. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Wow.
So I said to Emily, you know what's exciting about this plant? And I pointed to this shoot right here and this shoot right here, which are two very tall. For those of you that are not watching this on video, they're about 3.5 feet. One's 3 feet, one's about 3.5 feet tall. And then down below, I was like, oh, and then there's this one.
Like a little 6-inch.
Little 6-inch. And then there's this one that's about maybe a foot tall. I was like, you know what? That's the most exciting thing about it.
Yeah.
There's still some brown leaves, but basically I was like, if I'm going to water these plants, I don't want the water going into these stems that are never going to recover. It's just sucking water away from the stuff that can grow. And so I'm going to cut off and throw away these mostly dead stems. And anyway, the plants are doing pretty well. We've got another one just like it downstairs, and it's thriving pretty well. And this one over our shoulder, it kind of naturally has brown edges to the leaves, I think. But anyway, the point...
I didn't destroy that one. It was okay.
It's doing all right. Anyway, I guess the point, the metaphor that we're talking about here is that sometimes, as we head into spring and more people are thinking about plants and stuff is going to start sprouting up, sometimes for things to grow, you really need to cut away the dead stuff or the mostly dead stuff or the stuff that's just never going to recover or the stuff that's no longer going to yield fruit, whatever kind of parameter you have on it. But by cutting and pruning something, you actually give it life. I think that's what we want to talk about, is that cutting back and pruning actually helps you, is revitalizing.
I think that's definitely a huge part of it. And that is a strategic part of it. And the other part is that that something is thriving when there's a new growth. Like you're going to know that you are thriving when there's new growth. And that might require cutting away old stuff. At first, when you cut away the old branches, I was like, now it looks healthy because there's no dead stuff. But actually, the real sign of health and vitality wasn't an absence of brown leaves. It was the presence of these multiple new shoots. They're like, I want to grow here. This feels like a safe place to grow. I'm going to become a brand new part of this. And so it's not always about how impressive our past has looked. You've accomplished so many things in the past. You have this incredible resume, and yet you never sitting around thinking like, man, I got that award or that praise or that, skill mastered. So now I'm just like cruising through life on that good feeling till the end. Like as humans, we want to succeed again.
This is almost always out of the frame, but this is my Emmy award. So the point being that award does nothing for me in what I'm doing right now, but I feel very alive with what we're doing now. And that was a fun time in my life when I worked on Broadway and worked in theater and made shows. And maybe I'll go back to that whenever it feels like it's a growth place again. But for now, that's not what we're doing. Anyway, to your point, yeah, like there's plenty of things, certainly in my past, that I'm proud of. I'm glad I did them, but they're not part of my current growth. And I think the classic version of this is Bruce Springsteen's song. He sings Glory Days, right? Bruce Springsteen sings Glory Days. Feel free to correct us.
If you know how crazy it is that Eric's asking me this question.
Pretty sure Bruce Springsteen sings Glory Days.
I remember being in high school and hating that song.
Tell us why.
I think it's a great song.
It's a great song.
Like lyrics are crafted well, melody, chorus, super catchy. But the content, the idea that there's going to be like this one part of your life, and especially that it would happen so early on, that is going to be the best part. And then you're going to go downhill from there and spend the rest of your life just referring back to, remember when I used to be able to run fast or
we won a championship or
like whatever it is. I thought I'm in high school. I'm having a great time. I'm participating in the shows. I'm in the clubs. I have friends. I'm enjoying learning new things, and this better not be where I peak. Like I assumed for myself that I was going to be living a life that just kept getting better and better and better. That is how I saw that song. Like it was trying to tell me, this is where you're peaking out. And as a 17-year-old girl, I was like, I'm enjoying, I'm healthy. Things are good. It's depressing to think that this would be the ultimate of what life has to offer. And so I'm just like, let that song go in one ear and out the other. and decided it did not pertain to me, and that for me, the best would always be in the future.
Should we talk about that?
We can. It's our show. We can do whatever we want. You can choose whether you want to listen or not. Let's see where Eric wants to take us.
Well, I think a couple of ideas are popping off in my mind. And one of them is the kinds of things that I talk about with people that want to go sailing and where they're at in their life. And also, maybe I'll just start there.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm hesitant to put a percentage on it, but it's a significant percentage, like somewhere between 25 and 50% of people that I talk with are at some inflection point in their life. They've just come through a divorce, or they just sold a business, or their kids are just moving out, or or they're recently widowed, or they've just come through a medical scare, or some kind of life shifting event that makes them feel like, okay, I want to do something new. I want to try something I've never tried before, or I've always been meaning to get to this, and now is the time. And so for me, I will say that I love talking with people that are ready to grow, that they're ready to learn, they're ready to try something new. That's something that we look for in the people that we want to invite on these trips. I was asked recently, because I did a fair number of trips to the British Virgin Islands this winter, and I was on a call with one of my coaching clients, and he said, so do you ever get bored going there? And I was like, no. I mean, I like it for different reasons on each trip. And I kind of talked about how a lot of it is familiar territory for me, but I'm always introducing a new element, partly for my sake and partly for everybody else. And that's just also kind of how it unfolds. But what I told him is that it never gets old teaching people that want to learn. It never gets old when some people have never been on a boat before, or certainly not a live aboard boat, and they come on and they're experiencing it completely new. Mm-hmm. Some people have never been on a boat this size before, or they've never been in water this big before. Whatever it is, people are coming and they're experiencing something new. And I feel like that's like asking a first grade teacher, and then not to diminish the question, but like we would never say to a first grade teacher, does it ever get boring teaching kids how to read? And it might, but seeing somebody sort of wake up to a part of how the world works or what's possible in the world, I don't think it gets old. And it's just so rewarding and satisfying. And so I think, in a sense, I'm growing as well. The people that come out are growing and having a new experience, and I'm growing through sharing. And I think that's the beautiful cycle of learner and guide and learner, is that both get to have sort of that feel good feeling of sort of newness, I guess.
Yeah, that new growth. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. And it sounds like from what you're saying that it came in with one identity, like this is my experience, this is what I know. Because they were willing to expand that and go outside of their comfort zone, they now add this experience into their identity. And that becomes the new growth space. Mm-hmm. And I think for some people, even who don't get on the boat, it's even just being willing to have the call. Like some people will get on a call and be like, this is something I typically would have felt like wasn't for me, and I wouldn't even feel comfortable exploring. But we really do just want to see if it's a fit, and there's no pressure at all. If it is a fit, then there's an invitation to be like, would this be something you're interested in? And it's like, hey, that's up to you. That's totally up to you. And yet first, there have been some conversations that we've been on where it really felt like they're being brave just to see, is this possible for me? Is this a fit for me? And feel really great just stepping outside of their comfort zone that far. And it always feels like there's a benefit that comes. Like we love to meet them and they're like, okay, so this is what it would be. So now I'm asking new questions and seeing the world in a little bit of a different way. And there's new growth, even just in the call.
As an example, I'm often asked on our sailing trips by the group at the end, they're like, so who do you say no to? And because they're really curious. And I say, well, normally I'll say no to people that want something different.
Yeah.
And that's something different. I'll give an example. That might be the easier way. There's a lady that I've been talking with off and on for, the past 6 or 7 months, and she wants to get a group together. She's a travel organizer, really lovely lady. And she does trips with really wonderful people. And she's like, yeah, but the people that I take out, they just kind of want, like, they don't want to have to cook. They don't really want to learn how to sail. And they just want to be kind of taken care of. And I was like, that is a completely legitimate kind of vacation. That's not what we do. You're not going to have a good, they're not going to have a good time on our trip. We should not do this. And so I would say for people that just want to relax and have your meal brought to you and somebody, you know, kind of tidy up your room and make your bed and do those things, which are lovely. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are the people, the people that want that experience, or they want, or especially, you know, like if they just want a bar crawl and they just want to come and, you know, and drink, this is not the trip for them. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to say, let's get you something that's going to be fun for you. Let's get you to the thing that you want. But we want people that want to learn. Mm-hmm. We want people, and you know, and we've talked about this before. Sometimes a couple might come and they're a little bit imbalanced, not imbalanced, but they have different levels of interest. And one of them really does just want to be there and enjoy it. And one really does want to dig in and learn, but they're both willing to be involved and they're both willing to help. That's fine. But I think we specialize in people that want to learn. We love new growth.
So let's talk more about new growth. In the plant story, you talked about how some of the brown leaves needed to be removed, and that actually then meant more of the water and other nutrients were getting utilized in a way that could bring about this new growth. Do you have any signs in life or when some area of life is indicating that, hey, this has served its purpose and it's time to prune back?
Definitely.
Okay.
I have two clear examples.
Great. I came to the right place.
You've come to the right guy. The first one was when I was very young. I was a teenager. And before I had my driver's license, I was very interested in cycling. And that's how I would get around. I could go see my friends, and I was like spandex shorts and water bottles and those little Italian hats with the small visors. I was like all into it. But that's how I would zip around and get from place to place to see my friends and do the things that I wanted to do before I could legally drive. And when I was 14, I went to go spend the summer in Finland, where my mother is from. And my mom had me bring my bicycle because I don't speak the language. There's going to be a limited amount of stuff for me to do. She signed me up for this race, and it was 120 miles. It was 180 kilometers, 120 miles. And it was all over Finland, Tour de Finlandia. And I got there and I trained for it. And then I rode, and it was a huge accomplishment. It was super fun. I'm glad I did it. And after the race, it was a big day. I kept, I would go riding the rest of the summer just for fun because it was beautiful. But I came back to the US and like nothing else could compare. Mm. And then I got my learner's permit and I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. And I just kind of, hung up the bike in the garage and hung up my spandex shorts and, put my little Campagnolo small Italian visor hats in my closet. And honestly, I've never really gone back to it. And it served a purpose in my life. And now that was like, I peaked. I'm so glad I did it. Done.
And it was so many hours. It was so much time and expertise.
Yeah. And I still love riding a bike. Like riding a bicycle brings me joy.
Just like riding around, not like, let me do 50 miles.
But I'm not like, oh man, I don't want to, they call it a century when you do 100 miles. I'm not like, oh man, I want to just train for a century, or I want to, no. I have no itch at all.
Yeah.
But before it was like all I could do. So that's one example.
Yeah.
And the second example was.
And what was the sign? The sign was like I'm not interested. My interest has decreased in that.
Yeah, my interest dropped precipitously. It went from 100 to 20%.
Okay.
I was like now it's work for me to want to go out. Mm. So I was like, I'm there. I think the other is, I've talked about this. I wrote musicals and I studied music all growing up. And when I was in my early 20s, all I could think about was writing and producing a musical. And then once I'd written one and produced it, then it's like another one and another one. And I just couldn't get enough of it. And then I was working on Broadway, and then we would, I was producing other people's shows and producing a season of shows for, the nonprofit that I worked for. And then I made a television version of one of my shows got made. And I was very involved as one of the executive producers, I think.
And that's where the award came from that you showed earlier.
Yeah. And so I remember very distinctly, we were on set filming everything. And then it was the last day of shooting, because it was a performance where we just kind of filmed it. And then there were some days when we had audiences there. And this was the last day. Like we'd performed every show, every performance for the audience. And then we did another day or two of what we call pickup shots, where you just go and you get key moments that you maybe didn't get earlier with the cameras. And it was the last day of shooting. And then we were staying at this house nearby. And I just remember waking up the next morning after we had our last day of shooting. And I was just like somebody just like turned the lights off. And I was like, I think I'm good. Like that's all going to go into post-production. It's going to get edited and mixed, and it's going to come out in the world, and that will be very exciting. But I just felt like, I think I'm done for now.
So for you, the sign is your interest just drops off precipitously. And so then you no longer pour energy into that, and you find somewhere else to put that something else that you want to grow.
And I went, and as you know, I went back to theater, a few years later and did some producing. I guess that was the nonprofit stuff that I did.
Yeah.
And
you had been interested in trying out that job. You thought maybe it would be your dream job, and you tried it on and decided.
And that was actually, that part of it was what I was curious about, because I'd never done that. I'd never been the artistic director of a nonprofit theater, and I wanted to try it out. Turns out one season was enough. I'm glad I did it. It was intended to be short term from the get go, and so it wasn't like it was. Well, it was fraught. If you want the whole story, gonna plug my book, Get Knock: The Spiritual Journey of a Door-to-Door Salesman. It comes up.
Yeah, you'll find it in the links below. For me, one of the signs that it's time to prune is when I've been pouring energy into something and it's not yielding any fruit. It's like the good things are, and I recognize that there are elements of time and persistence and patience and trial and error, which we'll probably get into as well. But when all of that has been taken into consideration, and I see that it's not going anywhere, then I think this is time to my energy and resources finite. I'm now going to direct it somewhere that can grow, something that can grow and be fruitful. So that's one. Not like I might be interested, but there's just no growth happening through that nourishment. So maybe shift gears. That's one way that I know. And another way, it's kind of like the opposite of that, is when I'm just really excited about something, then I will say, I want to pour energy into this. I'm going to have to divert, and I'll get strategic about, well, that means in my case, very often unwisely might be, in that case, I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to pour energy into this by staying awake, or there are other ways, but just it's that whole idea of I'm going to say no to that so I can say yes to this, because this is fruitful and this is bringing me joy and this is alive and growing and I'm learning something new, or I'm cultivating a really meaningful connection here. So those are some of the ways that, besides just being I'm not interested anymore, is saying I'm very interested in something else, or I'm interested in this, but I see that it's using up resource and not yielding any fruit. So I'm going to shift gears. The
book that's coming to mind for me is Essentialism. We don't know Greg McKeown yet. Greg, if you're listening, we should meet.
That's barbecue.
It's barbecue. But we're fans of his book, Essentialism. And Essentialism is really about doing the thing where you are most uniquely qualified to contribute, I would say, in the world, and to not spend your time doing things that are outside of your area of specific contribution. And I think pruning is such a great metaphor. We've got this forsythia bush outside our house, and at the end of the season, we cut it back to almost just like the bare stump. And you just think, wow, this bush is dead now. And then bam, the next year it just grows out and it comes, all those yellow buds are popping and it fills back in. And I just think, it's hard to realize that, yeah, you're actually doing a good thing for it when you cut it way back. It helps it conserve through the winter, and it's going to be just fine in the spring. And so anyway, I think sometimes this idea of pruning it's about conserving through lean periods, but I think it's also getting specific about, it's also kind of a decluttering. Like what am I tinkering with or holding on to that I can let go of, that's going to free me up to do the thing that's really going to soar. It's going to really just elevate me and everything and everybody around me.
Yeah. So whether you're pouring out or you're pruning back, it's best when it comes from a place of intentionality, like knowing what it is that you're seeking and then portioning your energy and your resources accordingly. I love that picture in Essentialism. He has a circle and it has short little lines going out everywhere, like a kindergarten sun. And he's like, if you really want to make something, and you might want to make 10 things happen just a little bit, and you're very happy there. If you're like, I really want to make something, big and significant happen, then you kind of take all the energy from those 9 other projects and pour it into the one. And whether you want to have your energy going 10 different directions, 5 different directions, or one direction, that's up to you. And as long as you're aware of where your energy spends are. So I think, this maybe is an episode about recognizing we have control over that and auditing that by saying, where am I going to prune and where am I going to pour?
Can I tell a Taylor Swift story?
If you know one.
Surprise, surprise. This is the one Taylor Swift story.
I think this fan base is huge into Taylor Swift.
So, I guess she did a podcast with her boyfriend,
football player Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce, thank you. I actually love watching this Kansas City Chiefs play. So I know Travis Kelce. Anyway, she's talking with him. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I saw. I mean,
it's clip. Over 2 hours long, so
it's
TLDR.
And she says, I'm not that well rounded.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, she's done one thing really, really well, and that is build a music career. But she's the first to admit, I'm not really well-rounded. And I think people that have really excelled at something have that in common. Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer, is probably not that well-rounded either. And you could say that for any number of people that have succeeded or excelled at a very high level in something. The people that we know about are people that do things that are visible in public. So pop stars, politicians, scientists, whatever, athletes. But I think that's true to your point about those arrows, that if you really want to go far and find happiness and success, or at least success in something, it's going to require some focus, which is going to require some pruning. Maybe that's why I haven't gone as far as I want in certain areas of my life, as I'm not willing to give up my somewhat roundedness. That is not a fat joke.
No, but there's this idea I love about being a Renaissance man where you're like, hey, I'm interested in a lot of different things and I don't want anybody to say I'm only one thing or another. I can be this and that and 3 other things as well. And that's your choice. That's your choice. You're listening. That's your choice. That's my choice. And if you're like, hey, I don't want to give this up. I'm choosing to spend my energy this way.
And I'm going to have a potpourri of flowers growing in my, or I guess a bouquet of flowers growing in my garden rather than just becoming a specialist in one kind.
Yeah, that's totally up to you. It's up to you to decide, and it's not for anyone else to say whether that's the path to happiness or not. One of the things that's so awesome is that we do get to choose and decide what we feel good about, where we want to spend our time and pour our energy. Sometimes, so we talked about that sometimes thinking, I'm going to grow means I have to add something into my life. We recognize that a lot of times we grow when we subtract something from our life. But the main point to me is that the real sign of growth isn't like, look at all these old branches that obviously this tree's been around for a while. The main sign of thriving isn't look at all these old branches here, but look at these new ones. Like, this is still a place where new life can form and sprout and thrive. So in our lives, what might be some small signs that that new growth is actually happening? What does that look like?
Are you asking for an example?
Yeah.
Okay.
Reflect. You can reflect verbally.
Well, I'm gonna share an example that's recent. I joined a band late last year. It's a country band, country rock and roll, and it was having a lot of fun with it. Partly because of my sailing schedule, and partly because of where I think I want to go with my music. I realized, and also just schedule wise, some of it was just pure schedule conflict. I just realized that it didn't make sense for me to be in this band anymore. Great guys, we had a lot of fun. Played some good gigs. So the other week, we went and kind of said goodbye, and we sang them a couple of songs. We still love each other. We still want to, when the time is right, if the time is right, make some music together. But I've just been having fun doing different kinds of music since then, and something that's going to work a little bit better with my schedule and my availability. So if you want to pop over to my Instagram, you can see some of my accordion shenanigans. But I'm just playing around, and it's new. It's a small little bud, and who knows where it'll go. But that was an example of pruning and doing something new.
I love that example. And that is a great sign. You had been pouring energy into that and it grew and there was something good there and you said, I think I want to grow a different direction, cut that off. And then right away you started these playful accordion techno videos and just having so much fun with them. So maybe we'll pop one in, or we'll pop a link below. And that's a perfect example, is when you're feeling playful, when you're feeling curious, when you're feeling excited to move forward, and it doesn't have to be big. It's gonna start small.
Well, my accordion stuff is very small.
It's really fun. But the feeling that it gives, how does it feel like when you're doing it or when you've completed your offering?
Oh, I love it. I'm my biggest fan. I watch my reels more than any of you ever will.
It's so fun. It's so fun. So I love that as a sign of growth. A sign of new growth is like, this is fun. One sign for me is like, oh, I'm doing this differently than I have before. I'm making a shift. And I feel good about that. Like I'm adjusting.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, I've been just shifting. Like one of the things that I've learned recently is that helpful in husband language, helpful in wife language is complaining and disrespect in husband language. And that was like a little piece of male-female communication that I did not know, because helpful in female language, the other women are like, thank you for the tips. Please share all of your ideas. I will hit like and subscribe.
I think you might have to be more specific. Like, can you give an example of like helpful versus?
So, for example, Eric is downstairs trying to get us into some TV bundle so we can watch the Olympics. He's been at it for an hour and a half. It should have worked right away. It didn't work right away. He's being persistent. He's being heroic. He's figuring it out, but he's still stumped. And I come downstairs. Whoa. And instead of pulling out my phone to look up on Google or something like, surely other people have had this problem, let me just look up and see what they did. I know my husband doesn't like to look for instructions, so I'm just going to help him out and I'll look for the instructions and then I'll pass them along to him. And then I was like, no, he's been at this already for a while. He's a smart guy. This is his fight. He didn't ask me to join it. I'm not going to. And the next thought I had was like, I could recommend to him to Google it. And then I was like, no, this is his fight. He's a smart guy. He's figuring it out. He doesn't need any great ideas from me. So I just keep my mouth shut and go about doing my own thing, mind my own business. And about half an hour later, you say, I did it. I figured it out. I've got it all sorted out. And at no point did you feel like I was like demeaning, condescending, like coming in with ideas you've already thought of or didn't think were helpful enough to try or whatever. Like, I just let you have the fight to yourself to fight out. You didn't ask for my help. And as much as I love you and hate to see you suffer, I didn't offer any help. And that was me being like, I'm making a change. I'm doing things in a new way. And you never were like, I really missed how you usually offer suggestions when I'm trying to solve problems. You just were like, I figured it out. We can now watch the Olympics. And we're like, yay, Dad. You know, that's an example of me doing things differently.
That's a good one.
It's a very little one. Try this at home.
And either, on the one hand, it could be a sign of my egotism, which I don't think you're saying it is.
Not at all.
I think it's saying, like, you know, for a man, helpful suggestion is actually unsolicited advice, which nobody wants. At least not this guy, and like, probably most guys.
According to the book I had read, it said like guys don't love that from their wives.
So anyway, so you're saying new growth for you is trying out this new communication style and a new approach, and which is different than, you know, some kind of hobby or activity. It's just a communication style. Yeah,
I could give very many more examples along that same line, but then they would just be tedious. It's like, I have been so helpful. And now I'm just staying in my own lane, reading my book, taking a bath, doing stuff that I want to do for myself and not getting in the way of stuff that my husband wants to do by himself.
All right. So should we put a ribbon on this?
Yeah. That's really it. Thank you so much for being the farmer in our home, taking care of these houseplants, making them live and thrive. But especially as we enter into spring and recognizing, hey, there's a lot of trial and error with this. We didn't get it right the first time. We had to move the plants around to different locations. We tried more water. We tried less water. You figured out what is working, and we know that it's working because there's new growth and we feel excited about it. And so, yeah, get out there, be brave, be bold, be intentional, try some things, see what's working, see what's fruitful.
Maybe prune a little bit.
Prune. I love pruning. And then
Prune juice.
just keep in mind this, this really helpful question as you go through all that trial and error and wait for those new buds to appear and that feeling of excitement and shift to come. And that is, what could go right?
Hey there, before we wrap up, I want to give you the sailing update. Lots of new things happening. We do have a few spots left in 2026, but we're mostly sold out. So I'm going to tell you what's going on with 2027. And then at the end, I'll give you a few updates on what's happening this year if you want to jump on a trip. Basically, 2027, we're going to go to the BVI in January. In March, we're going to be in the Bahamas. And not sure if it's going to be the Exumas or the Abacos yet, but just stay tuned for that. April, we'll be in Mexico, Sea of Cortez. May, we're going to be in Bora Bora. So if you want to fly to Tahiti, French Polynesia, and sail Bora Bora, we're going to be going there for the first time in a long, long time. So that's going to be a fun trip. June, we're in Italy. July, we're in Greece. August, we're in Croatia. September, we're in Italy. We're going to go to a second trip to Greece in September as well. And then November of 2027, we're back in the British Virgin Islands. And December, we're in the Bahamas again. So that's the lowdown for 2027. If you want to come sailing with us this year, here's what we have. We have a spot for one solo female traveler, our Croatia boat, August 1 through 8. Then in Norway, September 3rd through the 10th, we have one spot left for 2 people. So that's going to be September 3rd through 10. It's going to be an epic trip. I'm super excited about that one. Italy in September is sold out. Mexico in October is sold out. Bahamas, November 9th through the 14th is sold out. And then in December 7th through 12th, British Virgin Islands is sold out. So that is what is available. If you want to learn more about any of these trips or get the details, visit theawesomefactory.nyc/sailing. Click to sign up for a time to talk with our team, with me, and we'll get your questions answered and hopefully welcome you aboard.
We can talk about trips all day, but it's more fun to hear from someone who's been aboard. Here is a recent guest takeaway.
I've done this is my second time, but the first time I brought my family. So this is the second time, I guess, I'm coming. And so I had the experience with people I knew, and I knew Eric, but I did not know anybody else on the boat besides Marty. So I would say that was a new part of the adventure. And then I guess going further away from home, I say it'd probably be a little bit different too. Yeah. Right. Uncharted territory.
Coming to Europe instead of the
Caribbean. Yeah, quite further. It was, not more fun, but it was fun being able to get to know new people. That was a delightful surprise. And just everybody's stories, and it's neat to watch everybody else interact with each other and get to know them and how their relationships are. I'd say I think it's the most exquisite way to unplug and really put yourself in a completely different environment, but have so much fun all at the same time. Let's say like a controlled environment, but yet something that you've never experienced before. It's different than just going on a vacation on land.